Hi, I'm Carl Dixon here at Verada Drums to share with you a lot of information about all these surdos available. The attributes in a surdo that I think are important to consider are the size, the dimensions, so the shape of the drum, the type of hardware that it uses, the drum heads, and the materials of the drum. Also, you may choose to have a surdo with legs permanently installed so that you can play the surdo standing up without holding the drum on a strap. The shell of a surdo is made from either wood or aluminum. In general, any metal drum will be a little bit louder and brighter sounding, and a wooden shell drum will have a darker, kind of warmer sound and often is not quite as loud. Metal shelled drums can also be a little bit more durable. This is the most traditional type of drum head used on a surdo. It's a goat skin that's tucked by hand onto a wooden flesh hoop. It requires a little bit of attention and careful work to apply a head like this to a surdo, just because the way the skin will naturally dry out and stretch tight. This skin head is the same type of skin, but it is tucked mechanically into an aluminum ring, similar to the aluminum rings on most plastic nylon drum heads. This one is a little bit easier to put onto a surdo, so if you're changing heads back and forth for any reason, this is a little bit easier to take on and off than the wood hoop. Here's a single ply nylon head. This is the same material that's used on lots of different instruments, caixa and hipiki or chimbal. And it can be used both on the top and the bottom head of a surdo. It's great when you are tuning the surdo up higher and want a more ringing sound. If you are using this on a lower pitch surdo, very often you will want to dampen a little bit the sound with some tape or fabric or something else on top of the drum to muffle a little bit the ringing higher frequencies and get a strong bass note. This is a Napa head, which is actually two layers. On the underside has a thin nylon layer, just like a nylon single ply head. And then on top has this layer of fabric, which just sits on top of the nylon. And this basically muffles a lot of the high-pitched ring of the head and produces a very clear, strong bass note. So this type of head is usually used on lower tension drums that have kind of more of a bass sound. It's really easy to tune and stays in tune more than a skin head. So it can be useful if you are less experienced tuning surdos, or if you want to just tune it to one note and have it stay there. There's also another type of this head which is the same construction but reversed, so that the nylon is on top of the fabric. And this creates a little bit stronger rhythmic attack because the nylon has just more percussive sound than the soft fabric. Both of these heads with the two layers and the Napa end up having a nice clear bass note, but overall are not quite as loud as a drum with a skin head or two single ply nylon heads. This is because when you muffle a drum, you're always taking sound away from the drum. So you're left with the sound that you want, but also you took down the overall volume of the surdo. This is important to know, mostly depending on the overall volume that you're likely to be using the surdo for. If the surdo is going to be used indoors, in an acoustic music band, or is going to be used with microphones and amplification, then the actual volume is less important than the tone. If you're going to be playing with a large percussion ensemble or batteria or parading outdoors, then a skin head will be louder on the same surdo than a Napa head will be. And also even two nylon heads will be louder with a little bit of strategic muffling than the Napa head will be overall. Any surdo can have legs like this attached. This leg is very similar to a leg on a floor tom and allows the leg part to be removed and adjusted. But with 3 legs attached, the drum is very stable and easy to play on stage or in a setup of other instruments. This is very common when you're playing in a band or in any type of drumming ensemble where you're in one place and not moving around. So you'll notice that this surdo is quite deep. It's 16 centimeters tall, which makes a great sound when it's standing on a stand or legs, but not so convenient for carrying with a strap. So a drum of this depth, 60 centimeters, I would recommend mostly if you're going to use it on a stand or with legs. This surdo is 50 centimeters deep, which is a great size for carrying the surdo on a strap over one shoulder like this, which is the most common way of carrying a drum in a Rio style samba group. The shortest style of surdos are 40 centimeters deep, and this is nice if you are using the surdo with a strap around your waist like this in the Bahian style, which lets the surdo sit a little bit lower, which is nice, especially if you're going to be playing with 2 mallets. Now I'll talk a little bit about each of the models of surdus that are available on veratodrums.com. These surdus from Gope have the legs attached. They're the 60 centimeters deep, either aluminum or wooden shell, and both of those come in 18 and 20-inch diameters. Any of these drums are great for playing in a pagode, in a samba group, or any other band that plays on stage where you're not moving around too much. They both come with the skin heads, but you could put any type of drum head that you want on either of these drums. Overall, the sound is going to be very similar with either wood or metal shell. In general, the metal can be a little bit louder and a little bit brighter sounding. The wood is a little bit darker. The wood shell is also a little bit lighter. The tuning range for either of these sizes of drums is pretty similar. The 18 has a nice sound tuned up a little bit higher. A 20-inch diameter drum will let you have a better sound tuned down a little bit lower. And of course, you can have a pair or even a set of 3 of surdus like this on legs, and then play in a combination together. These surdus from Ivesum are aluminum with really sturdy, well-made hardware. They're great for all kinds of music, really versatile, but especially my number one pick for playing in a Rio style batteria, especially when you're using a skin head on the top. You could use skin head on both the top and bottom, or skin head on top and nylon head on the bottom. This combination is nicer, especially for smaller surdus that will be tuned up higher. It's pretty loud and resonant, and helps tuning a little bit easier, makes the drum a little bit less affected by the temperature and humidity because of the skin head. These drums were tuned with a wing nut, which is really convenient because you can adjust the tension of the drum while you're playing without needing a wrench. This is great for when you're on stage for a while and the lights are going up and down and the temperature changes and the tension of the head changes and can really vary the pitch of the drum. This type of drum, and most of the others I'll talk about, use the same type of tensioning, which is a tuning nut that goes on the end of the rod. The rod is attached at the bottom, and you can easily, with any type of 3/8 inch wrench, tune the drum from the top, which is usually where I prefer to keep the nuts. This is because the tensioning with the nuts on the top keeps the top head a higher tension than the bottom. Some of the European and Asian Surdus use a tuning rod that tunes at the top where the whole rod spins into the bottom rim. This is sometimes problematic because all the tension has to go through this rod, and that puts a lot of force on this pretty small piece of material, and then also down here on the bottom rim where the rod threads into it, and this can very easily break. This version, where the rim is, in this case, actually screws permanently into here on the bottom, and then the nut easily goes on and off of the threaded rod, is a much easier way to tune and is much stronger. The Evesum Surdus come in sizes from 14 inches all the way up to 24 inches in diameter, all 50 centimeters deep. This is the 18 inch. All of these drums have a fairly wide tuning range, and I have another video that demonstrates the range of the tuning of each drum. The Art Celsior Surdus are very similar in their construction to the Evesum Surdus. Some of the materials are a little bit lighter and simpler, which keeps the overall weight a little bit lighter and a little bit more affordable than the Evesum Surdus. They're also quite strong and very versatile and can be used for lots of different kinds of music. Here's the Gope Surdu without the legs, with an aluminum shell. These also come in sizes from 14 inches up to 22 inches in diameter, and are great especially with the Napa head on top and the single ply nylon on the bottom. This sound has a really strong, clear bass note and a pretty long sustain. It's great for all styles from Bahia and could be used for lots of other rhythms as well. The larger sizes are 45 centimeters deep, which keeps them a little bit shorter than the Evesum Surdus, which is nice when you're using the waist strap like this. These drums are quite light, which is also great when you're carrying the drum on a strap for a while. Here's the 18-inch Surdu from Chimbra. These Surdus have a very large vent hole here that keeps the sound quite dry, and the sustain is more short. That, combined with the nylon heads on both top and bottom and tuned up higher, is really great for playing faster rhythms, especially with two mallets. These Chimbra Surdus are just 40 centimeters deep, so they're the shallowest of all the Surdus. which makes them even easier to carry on this strap, although they are a little bit heavier with heavier duty hardware than the Gope Surdus. And here's the 20-inch Cimbra Surdu with this reversed Napa head. Again, it has nylon head on top with the Napa fabric on the underside. So it has a kind of clear rhythmic attack, but a very controlled note and a shorter sustain, especially with that big vent hole. I hope that was helpful. If you have more questions about Surdus, the drum heads, the sizes, sticks and straps or cases, anything else like that, please get in touch with me at veratadrums.com. I would love to help you pick out the best drum for the music and the rhythms that you are going to use it for. All these drums are available on the website, veratadrums.com. So check them out there, and thanks for watching.